And we are live. Good morning if you're on the West Coast, Mountain Time, and good afternoon if you're on Central Time and the East Coast. I'm Adam Timm with the Healthy Dispatcher, and I'm joined here with Tanya Lee of
Hello.
EvansCare. And this is creating a healthy 911 environment where we are talking about how your environment affects your mental, emotional, and physical health, and how we can intentionally impact those dimensions of ourselves by changing aspects of our environment. We are on episode 2 here. And thank you so much for joining us if you're joining us live. And if you're checking out the replay, thanks for tuning in there as well. Tanya, we forgot to talk about something last week. We were just so excited to get on with the show. I'd love to talk a little bit about how we came to do this together, and specifically, I'd love to learn more about what EvansCare is all about before we get into the show today.
Okay. Well, I think that when you and I met, we actually kind of talked about this, and this was years ago, but I just kind of felt like the healthy dispatcher and a healthy environment kind of go hand in hand, kind of a symbiotic relationship. And so what EvansCare is we actually go into 911 centers, and while the center stays live, we're able to go ahead and clean and do a really deep clean, not like a janitorial service clean, but a really deep clean of your console. While we're doing that, we're also making preventative maintenance adjustments so that if there's screws or hinges that are broken or loose, we address those issues, any alignment issues. And so we're just making sure that you're in the ideal environment possible while you're doing such an important job. So that's kind of why I create a healthy environment for you to work in, and Adam handles your healthy environment for your head. So that's kind of why we've teamed up to create a healthier environment in general.
I love it. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
And you mentioned last week that you have a particular penchant for creating environments, being somewhat of a control freak and somewhat of a type A perfectionist yourself. So thank you for being real about that. And I'm certainly in a certain way that way as well. So as we mentioned last week, your environment affects all these dimensions of how we show up each day, how we feel. And today we want to dive into the mental health side of things when it comes to our environment. And specifically, I want to address or bring your attention to the impact of clutter. How does clutter, how does clutter affect us? And Tanya, if you could, while I get that picture of clutter queued up, if you could share the that wonderful quote that you were talking about before we went on the air about how our environment affects us.
Let's see here. The average person lives in an environment that sabotages his or her best efforts at every turn. You can accomplish more, quicker, and with ease if your environment literally nurtures and supports you. So we talked about this last week, but I just wanted to touch on it again because I really loved the line about an environment that nurtures and supports you. I feel like, especially in 911, that's such an important thing because of what you're doing and what you're accomplishing and dealing with every single day. I just feel like if your environment can be the very best it can be, then so can you. So I really love that quote, and this picture really, really stresses me out.
Me too. I have friends who know, like when they look at their clutter, they know it's their office, it's their space, and they say that there's a place for everything. However, I will go out on a limb and say that even to the most conditioned, even to the most numb to such a scene, there is some impact if we can consider that, if we can really be honest with ourselves. I want to know from those who are joining us live, though, I want to see some comments on the comment string right now. How does this picture make you feel? Like at first, what was the initial emotional impulse? Because our emotions are a leading indicator, and I don't want to plant any seeds or condition how you respond to this, but I know what I feel when I look at this, and I have had clutter like this in a room in my house, and I think I blocked it off with tape and said, don't ever go in there. Melissa, thank you so much. It stresses me out. Judy, overwhelmed. Aaron, yes, I'm stressed just looking at it. Ricardo, contrarian position. Thank you for that. I like it. Melanie, thank you. I cannot imagine ever seeing this in my office. And Melanie, being being an executive director for a center, you certainly wouldn't want people coming into your office and seeing this. I'm sure. Stacy, just nope. Jeff, thank you for admitting my own desk a few years ago. I've been working to correct it. Julianne, I just cleaned my desk at work last night. It felt so good. Yes, such a calming effect. Thanks, Ricardo. I appreciate you being joking with us live here. Isis, yes, someone is not very organized. So I'm going to turn this off as everyone is having a visceral reaction to it and is distracting us from what we're about to talk about, the other side of things. Tanya, if you could share with us what does mental health even mean? We're talking a lot about this. It's still May, Mental Health Awareness Month, but what are we really talking about when we talk about mental health?
So I wanted to look it up while we were getting ready for this session. And mental health is cognitive, behavioral, and emotional well-being. So it's all about how you think, feel, and behave. Your mental health can have a huge impact on your daily living, your relationships, and your physical health, which I actually thought was kind of interesting. I had no idea that, even a little tiny bit of stress can actually impact your physical health. So this is really crazy important.
Can you share with us an experience? When have you experienced the need for a shift in your life when it comes to changing your environment so that you could prioritize your mental health and well-being?
Yes. I've always been of the mindset, even long ago, about the fact that I feel like happiness is a choice. So I feel like even in your darkest times, there's something that you can focus on that can make you happy, or just a bright spot that you can focus on. A few years ago, I was in a really, really toxic work environment. And I didn't realize actually how toxic it was until I was given the opportunity to make a decision to either stay where I was comfortable and I knew what I was doing and I was totally okay kind of going about life doing that, or I could do something hard and I could do something brand new, totally unknown. And I made the decision to go ahead and do that. That's what brought me to Evans. And it was one of the best decisions I've ever made, because after removing the toxicity from my life, I realized how free and how light and how much better I felt. I mean, I was stressed out. I was nervous. I wanted to do a good job, but removing the toxicness from the situation improved everything about my life. So that's just one example, but it did improve my mental health for sure.
I love that. And I love that story. And I love it how you found yourself kind of stuck in your comfort zone.
Right.
And so often it is that case where we've grown comfortable, and in some way we've almost grown just stuck in that same old place. And it isn't until and I love the metaphor of nose to the grindstone. So many of us are such hard workers, and we keep our head down and we keep throwing ourselves into whatever's right in front of us. And so often it isn't until we pick our head up and kind of survey the landscape and consider what else we might want to have in our lives that we get to make an informed or more aware decision around that. And so I would encourage those of us who are here today. How does your environment impact your mental health. You've already been viscerally impacted by that picture of the clutter that I shared just a moment ago. Some of you have admitted in the comments to tackling that pile of papers or cleaning up your desk. So we can always notice the difference after we made a change. So we can see what we were missing out on once we made that change. But I'd like you to consider when you were in the thick of it, when you were in the thick of that clutter, and I'm using that as a metaphor. It could be literal clutter. It could also be difficult relationships with work or people or family or whatever. When you were in the midst of that clutter, how did your environment impact your mental health? How did it impact your relationships or your bandwidth for your relationships? And how did it impact your physical health, since these are intertwined? And I'm just looking at the comments here. There's Melissa. You mentioned there's always room for positivity. I love this idea that we make room for other things. When we move things around, when we tidy things up, when we declutter, we make room for other things. And since I'm recognizing Melissa sent me a picture after last week's show where she decluttered. She organized a cupboard in her office. So Melissa, you get the first gold star from the show.
Aw,
here.
yay. There's some people on here saying that they want a gold star, so I wanted to make sure that we addressed that.
And in order to get a gold star, we need physical evidence of your decluttering ways. So you can send me a text message if you have my contact information. You can put it up on Facebook. You can put it up in the comments of this broadcast, this replay. You can send Tanya a message on Facebook. You can put it on the Healthy Dispatcher page. But we need evidence. We need to see what's actually happening. So let's talk about the cost of clutter, since that's what we're really talking about. We're talking about decluttering our environment, but first we have to consider the cost. I like to say that with awareness, we can take action. In fact, we have to, in a lot of ways, understand how bad things are in order to make it seem worth it to change things, because we're all so busy. So I'm curious from your perspective, Tanya, what is the cost of clutter? You go into comm centers all across the country. What do you notice the difference being when you first go there to after you've done your service, after you've helped them declutter? What's the initial cost of not doing something?
I think as far as the cost goes, I think that you can see the cost after you see the effect of having something like that done. I don't think that many people can actually understand how it feels to know that someone actually cares enough to give you a solution or to show, listen, I don't want you sitting in a disgusting area that's covered in food, or that you have to, spray your legs with flea spray before you come and sit down to do your job. I don't want you to do that because you're worth more than that. And I think that for me personally, when I worked in the medical field long ago, I had a boss who literally came to me at the end of every day and sincerely told me, thank you. And he didn't just be like, hey, Tanya, thanks a lot for everything, blah, 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 walk out the door. He stopped in front of me and said, thank you. And I think that that's part of why I love EvansCare and what we do for people, is because it is showing the dispatchers that they matter and that they're worth investing in, and they're worth being able to create a healthier environment for them to do such an important job.
I love that, and it makes me your comment flows directly with something that Jeff shared in the comments. There, clutter isn't just physical; it's emotional as well.
Absolutely.
So you're in some way when you're decluttering your environment, you're helping yourself to declutter emotionally as well, because there's a lot of emotion tied to holding on to things.
Yeah.
Some of the other costs to clutter are time. Like if you have an office that is completely piled with stuff, and there comes a time where you need to access some piece of information that you know is buried in that haystack. How much time are you going to spend getting there? How much time do you spend just tending to things that you don't need to because you can't find what you're looking for? And you might not be very cluttered in your workspace, but how's your home space? What might be the cost of the clutter at home? Certainly, if you have a pile of mail that you haven't looked at in a few weeks, there may be some actual costs to money-related costs with
That
late
can cause
fees and
stress.
yeah, and then there's the stress. That's the other cost. So we got time, money, stress related to the clutter. And you might say, well, then what am I supposed to do? Am I supposed to just pull a dump truck up to my center or up to my house and just load everything up? How much is too much? And I'll put that out to the viewer. How much clutter is too much? How do you know how much is too much? Because we all like our things, but at some point we might cross a line. What would you say about that, Tanya? How much clutter is too much? Like, where does it become destructive clutter, and how much is just like, hey, I like knickknacks, and they make me feel good.
I think that for each person, that's going to be very personal. But I know, like, looking through the comments here, one of the most important things is, like a lot of people are like, I'm fighting feelings of failure, and we're not just talking physical clutter now here, but that's emotional clutter. And if you're having those feelings like I'm a failure, I'm not doing a great job, honestly, I think that what you need to do, I have that all the time. You can ask my husband. I beat up on myself constantly that I'm not doing a good enough job, or I'm not doing enough, or that type of a thing. And what I try and do when I'm starting to feel like that and I'm starting to get down on myself, start writing some positive things down that you can focus on, like, and it doesn't even need to be work related, but I'm a great mom. Start focusing on those things, or I'm a great chef and I cook great meals for my family, or, that type of a thing. Just start focusing on putting positive things into your mind and getting rid of that emotional clutter, I feel is really, really valuable. And I've noticed that a lot of people have been kind of commenting about the failure thing, and it kind of breaks my heart a little bit. And that's why we're here, is to talk about the emotional health of your person, your whole entire person.
Yeah, I love that. And Roxanne, a leading indicator is going to be some feelings of anxiety. If you have ever lost sleep because you start to think about that pile of stuff you've been promising yourself that you were going to clean up for the last several weeks, that's a sign. Tracy, this is such a great point, that when you're looking for something and then you find other things, and you had a focus when you dove into the clutter, and then you went on some tangent, and it's 3 hours later, and you forgot what you were actually going in that room for in the first place. Jeannie, thank you so much. When you're tripping over stuff, and I love there's so many metaphors in all of this language. Like, you may be tripping over something physically, but we're going to be tripping over something in our mind. We might lose our train of thought. Just like you said, same thing with the mental side of things. I love, here's a Marie Kondo quote that I just love. We may have to be willing to let some things go. We may have to be able to let things go that are no longer serving us. for me personally, I had to let a lot of stuff go to move away from being angry Adam to something different. I had to let go of a toxic relationship. I had to let go of a failing side business. I had to let go of my perpetual negativity and my reasons for keeping it real. So I had to see through the attachments. And Tanya, you were sharing like you had to let go of feeling comfortable, which was really stuck in your comfort zone,
Right.
in order to break free to do what you really wanted to do.
Yeah. So I had to let go of that. I had to let go of the feeling of being comfortable and accept that I'm going to be uncomfortable in order to improve my situation. And that's actually really hard. It takes a lot of courage, and I'm not trying to pat myself on the back, but it was literally one of the hardest things I did, and also one of the best things I did. So making change is hard.
Yeah. Absolutely, and I'm going to throw this other quote as we wrap up, and we give you your homework for the next week. I'm going to throw up this other inspirational quote that we found that speaks specifically to being able and willing to make tough choices, to step out of the comfort zone, and this is regarding aligning yourself with the purpose and mission that's inspiring for you, that can animate your daily life. And this comes from Erica Williams Simon. I just love this. The best career advice that I can give: don't ever attach yourself to a person, a place, a company, an organization, or a project. Attach yourself to a mission, a calling, a purpose only. That's how you keep your power and your peace. And in the context of 911, there is something powerful when you connect to what it is about the job that animates your being, the purpose of working in this challenging job.
Yep.
So remembering your purpose, actively looking for and finding your happiness and drive, and making that your first and foremost focus can help a lot. As we move into the wind down here, there's a couple of things that we would like you to take away from today's episode 2 of 6. Number 1, increase your awareness of how your state of mind affects your outlook. All of these elements are intertwined. So your clutter is impacted by, or impacts your mental health. Your mental health affects your outlook. Your outlook affects your performance. Your performance and your outlook affects your relationships. Everything is so intertwined. And I saw that comment earlier from someone. It's all so intertwined. So notice how your outlook affects things, your daily goings on, and notice over the next week. Make some specific notes, and I love writing in a notebook or a journal. A journal is a fancy word for a notebook, to bring to mind some of these things that stand out. And there's been a lot of talk, obviously, about the way things are right now with COVID and coronavirus. Now it's even more important to be mindful of what you're bringing into each and every moment. What else can we take away from the next week ahead, Tanya?
Just one quick thing while you were saying notebook, I just wanted to throw a couple things out there real quick. I do that too. I keep a notebook by my bed. And what I do usually is try and get a lot of the stuff out of my brain so that I can sleep, because I struggle with sleep big time. So I have found that it's really helpful for me. Like if I'm thinking about work a lot, blah, 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 I write out everything that I want to accomplish for the next day, just so that I get it out of my brain and onto there, so I know I don't have to think about it anymore. And then another helpful thing for me, just recently, Nathan has done this with me, is kind of decluttering my brain as far as anything else, like what might have been bothering me or what I thought was great or that type of a thing. And he kind of helps me unload everything in my head. And that, I think that would probably be something that, from me, I think that would be great great advice, just kind of homework, I guess, for everybody to try as well. So the second takeaway is just noticing over the next week how your daily outlook impacts your mental health. So if you're going into work with a bad attitude or whatever, how is that going to impact? Going home or being crabby at home, how does that impact? I know that it just takes one crabby moment to impact the whole entire house and surroundings and that type of a thing. So just be aware of that.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Tanya. It was great to be here with you once again. And we will see everyone next week for episode 3, where we're going to dive more into the emotional health and well-being side of things. And obviously, these are all connected. And thank you so much for tuning in with us this week. Create a healthy environment for yourself so you can show up 100%. Stay healthy, stay safe, and we will see you again.
Bye, guys.